young and I don't know no other ways. I've been balling for the moment, but can't sight the better days. You fell off and now you lost the shit that you was just a phase. I became this on my own, no, this is not how I was raised.
In 2010, went to Swickley Academy, played basketball at Davidson College in North Carolina, played 3 years overseas, coinciding that right out of college, alongside my business partner, Nate Perry. We started doing AAU in 2015 and kind of just started out with, just like a mom and pops organization, 1-2 teams, and just kind of build it up from there. And, here we are today, and just trying to push it forward and continue to help kids and kind of push the brand and push the, the opportunity for kids in Pittsburgh. That's the biggest thing. It's like, we talk all the time about how Pittsburgh's kind of a football area, and it is. Like, there's no question. I mean, it's a hotbed.
Yep. Probably will always be too, for real.
It will.
Our lifetime.
It will. It will. But we've also seen some pretty good basketball players coming out of the area. Obviously, right now, as we speak, there's talented kids laying around the Whitfield. But yeah, no, it's always been something that's kind of gone in waves. The talent's fluctuated. But I think, we have some good people involved, you included, just trying to do the right things for these kids. And hopefully a couple years from now, instead of just, it's hit or miss with Division I prospects, we have a solidified number each year. That's kind of the goal, sustainability and success.
Right. So like with the Wildcats on the 3SSB, like this product that you have now, a question that I get all the time, and again, like I just give the info that I know, right? Like my experience. And I know it's never a one size fits all. Like that, you know what I mean? People land in this shit different ways. Like what was if people were gonna ask you, I'm sure they do, how do I get my program on 3SSB? How does that work? How did you do it?
Yeah, so timing is very important. So let's put that out there first, right? So like you could have, and there's great programs, independent programs that are higher level. They do a better job than a lot of shoe programs, right? And that's facts. Like they got better connections.
That's life though, man. Like that's just the way shit works. Like there's other clothing brands out there that look and feel better than Gucci. Like it exists.
Yeah.
But opportunities aren't the same.
Right. Yeah. So luckily for Nate and I, it was kind of a perfect storm. It was coming out of 2018. So the FBI stuff in Adidas with Zion Williamson and Brian Bowen and kind of everything that was going on with the pay-to-play scandal that the FBI uncovered. Yeah. So we're coming out of that, transitioning. Adidas had been really high level, all right, coming off a year with Zion and, the Ball brothers, et cetera. So the product was really good. Now they took a little bit of a hit because of that FBI investigation. So a couple teams dropped off. Yep. Couple things happened. They had to reorganize kind of the whole circuit and the whole platform. They changed the name of it. We didn't find out till March 1st that we got on to, at that point, it was the Gold Gauntlet. It was called Adidas Gold Gauntlet. We got on, we got the call. They didn't give us any money. They didn't give us any product. We were the only team on the gold circuit with generic stock uniforms, right?
Yeah.
But we had a really special group, and that, Oscar Shebue, Maceo Austin, Mattia Kunzo, Jalen Bridges. So that was kind of our first team that got us onto that platform. We went to the Final Four that year in our first year. So from there, we were kind of on the scene. We did what we needed to do. Yep. We got our foot in the door, and then we just kind of handled it. Now, to kind of circle back on your point of like, how do you get onto the circuit? I would say for us, it was like we had to go against the grain a little bit because at that point we had some good players. We had Trey Mitchell and some other guys that were good in the area.
Yep.
but now, all Ohio's coming in,
Mm-hmm.
Team Durant's coming in, City
Yeah.
Rocks are coming in. So we had to battle that for about a year or two
Yeah.
and show these kids, like, we had to do extra. We had to take them on all the
For
college
sure.
visits. We
Yeah.
had to really just go extra
Mm-hmm.
to kind of push through that. And if we hadn't have done that, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Right, because if it was easy, right, if it was easy, everybody would just be able to simply make that work. A lot of people in that position probably would have kind of lost that opportunity. You know what I mean? If it wasn't that first year, maybe the second year, third year, would have just lost it because they didn't, execute that way.
Yeah, so again, I mean, there's some things that worked out. We put a lot of work into it, so that can't go by the wayside.
For
but
sure.
At the same time, it was somewhat of a perfect storm, and it worked out in our favor. And
Yeah.
we just kind of took the opportunity and ran with it.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I like for people who ask that question, it's like there's never one answer you can really give. And for me, it's like it goes back to everything. Like if you want to ask me how I built the academy, I can't tell you one. It would take me hours to give you like different things, timing, being involved, getting lucky with certain things happening at certain times that give you an opening. So it's like, if you really, it's also a different landscape now. Like this is not 2015. The AAU landscape is not what it was in 2015. So, the shit that some other people might have to try to do to make that happen now is not going to be, it can't even roll the same way that yours necessarily rolled. So, but I'm sure I don't know what time point, you and Nate were like, okay, we want to do this for sure. There had to have been a lead up. There had to have been a plan. There had to have been grind work already put in place so that when the opportunity presented itself, you can make it happen. And that's what everybody misses. It's just like, I'm going to put an AAU program together this year and we're going to try to get on a circuit somehow. Like, shit doesn't work that way. You know what I mean?
No, it doesn't. It's a lot of trial and error, and there's just so many like negative things are going to happen on the way. Like
right.
I thought even like when we didn't have a shoe contract, it was like, man, like if we can just get a shoe contract, like all our problems will be solved.
Hell
but
no.
No. It's just different problems now.
This is different
like,
problems.
Instead of like it's different.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, like we can get some pretty good players because of the platform, but now like our high end players, when you talk about like kind of that realm and what goes into top 50, top 100 kids and kind of the shoe companies coming in and trying to fight over the kid and different ways that they're navigating. And they're not inviting you to this camp because you play in that shoe circuit, but we're going to invite you here to show you that, we're going to give you this gear. It's just, there's so many layers to it that it's just different problems. It's
just different problems, right? For sure.
Different problems.
And like to that point, like so you're hitting on when you have to talk about this stuff. If you're on the business side of it in any way, shape, or form, you're basically going to talk about everything but basketball. And so and like that conversation is so irrelevant for most people. I'm like people who ask about this stuff, I'm like, listen, man, your kid or you as the player, like this conversation is so irrelevant for you. You know what I mean? You're really still talking about, I don't know, you probably know the numbers. I'm going to guess at 3%. I'm going to say 3% of high school kids have an even shot to even play with Tom Droney's Wildcats team. Okay? And so like there's a certain basketball threshold that got to be hit first. And then once you hit it, now we're talking about straight business at that point. Like we're talking about business at that once you get there. And that's what there's a disconnect understanding how good you even have to be for the Wildcats or anybody else to really be interested in you. They miss that. And then they miss once you get there, like you said, they're about to have rich problems now. They're about to have elite problems now. They thought if I could just get on the circuit, well, all right, once you get there, you're about to have some other set of problems that's straight up business that you're not ready for,
Yeah, there's a lot that's behind the scenes that just goes unnoticed. And it's a hard job. Like, obviously we're blessed, like to have this platform and have this opportunity, but like we get stuff wrong all the time.
Right.
We recruit kids that maybe we shouldn't recruit it, or we don't recruit kids we should be recruiting. Like, so we go through that, and that's just part of the business, right? You're going to get stuff wrong, but that's why like trial and error and just getting experience. We learn stuff every year.
Yep.
It's like,
I learn every couple months. Every couple months I learn like new shit about my business,
when you think you know it is when you really realize you don't.
For sure,
right?
yeah.
So you just start to learn and how to formulate teams, how to coach, how to operate, how to help your coaches progress. I mean, there's so many nuances that kind of go into it. But I would say this as well. It's like there's kids, and this is, it kind of mimics college right now. And I hear this all the time. It's like, oh, well, so-and-so, he can play there. He could play at that level.
Yep.
That may be true. Like, he might be able to play at that level.
Right.
But college coaches, AAU coaches, we're not looking for kids that can play, right? We want you to thrive. We want you to be able to contribute at a high level.
Yep.
And college coaches' jobs are on the line. They're not taking a guy that might be able to just play at this level. They want a guy that can exceed expectations, is going to fit seamlessly, and they're going to be able to, from day one, at the very least, they're going to be able to produce at some level.
So, like, right there, I want to hit on that point right there. So, from what you've seen, you know, so you've been in the shoot thing, since what year? 2018?
2018, yeah.
All right. So let's say the 5 years of that, and then how many years before then leading up to it?
So all in all, I mean, we're headed into year 10 now.
Okay, so let's say 10, and that's basically where I'm at with my academy, like heading into year 10. So like, let's say 10 years of you seeing elite talent. Everything that you just said, it's not like, can you do it? Can I put you in the game? Do you belong with these kids? It's like, what's going to make you get in there and actually produce at a high enough level in that environment? Is that talent based, or is that more intangible based, in your opinion, from what you've seen?
I think that's a great question, and it's something I'm still wrestling with a little bit. Like, I'll see a kid, and you see him in a workout. He's got the measurables. He looks talented. He's skilled, but you get him in the game, and he doesn't have that dog, or he doesn't have the feel, right? So there's like, you have to see certain kids in different settings, maybe. Like, I like to see a kid in his high school setting. I like to see a kid in an AAU setting.
That's
I might like to see him at a camp setting.
Yep.
I might like to see him in an individual workout. You just have to understand, and there's just like, it's no perfect exact science behind it, but you just have to watch. And I took something from Rick Pitino. He said he will always watch a kid 5 times before he offers a scholarship.
Okay.
And like, I try to somewhat mimic that. Like, you know, you see a kid once or twice, and he has a good day, and you take him, and then you get him, and it's like, like, he's not like that all the time.
Hell
right?
Yeah,
so figuring
man.
that out is part of the process.
It's unbelievable how, you know, like the life of your attachment to a kid, you'll view him like 5 or 6 different ways when it's all said and done. You know what I mean? Like, you might look at him as this kid's uber talented, sky's the limit. You might look at him as, man, this kid is just mentally broken. You might look at him as, this kid is a lost cause, has no chance. You might look at him as, this is literally like the type of kid I need around our program. And all, like the roller coaster through a kid, a player, is crazy. And they change so much on that setting. You might see him in open gym and you're like, man, he's really talented. You might see him in a high-level game, like, yo, his feel is, he has no feel for the game. You might see him at a high school game, you're like, man, he is freaking explosive. Like, you're going to just see different things at every setting you watch him in, and that's such a good point, man. It's so hard to evaluate as it is, let alone evaluate 1 time or 2 times, you know?
Right, and then you're also trying to evaluate what you're seeing and how that kind of fits into the team that you're building. So it's like, you can't have 6 or 7 guys that all want to go get 20, right? So you got to formulate that. You're going to have A, B, C guys, right?
For
you're
sure.
You're going to have your 1, 2, 3 pretty much any way you cut it. There's going to be a couple top guys. You have to find guys that can fit into seamless roles, because now you're talking about exposure is great until you get exposed.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So kids get on the circuit and they're talented, they're good players, but if they can't fit into a role, or they don't have a defined role on a certain team, that's actually going to end up negatively affecting those kids in the coaches' minds. They're sitting on the sideline and they're saying, I'm not so sure, right? So it's like, especially when picking an AAU team, I would say 17U, you got to play, right?
Yeah, you got to get in.
You got to get in. You got to find somewhere that you're going to play. Okay. Like, and there's no knock on any circuit or independent program, but like, if you're going to go just to get the gear and just to get the glitz and the glamour and sit on the bench and not be able to play,
Yep.
they can't evaluate you.
Right.
And the way the scholarship crunch is right now, you have to get seen. You have to get on the floor,
Absolutely.
right? The days of like the fake offers and that stuff, they're there a little bit, but that's kind of gone,
Yeah.
right? 3-4 years ago, that went out the window,
Right.
Like you could call a coach and say, oh, like offer this kid. Well, they're not throwing them out there like that anymore.
Right.
See, there's a certain threshold you have to meet that puts you in the ball game.
I mean, I'll tell you, I seen numerous things this year. See, I was never in this space, you know, but now that my kids are starting to get older, you know what I mean? I mean, even just dealing with Alear, I remember I met Alear when he was like 13, 14, you know, so I didn't even have to get involved in this stuff until like this past year. So I learned so much fast, and then you deal with numerous kids and you start to get a good sample size. You know what I mean? This happened when I spoke to this coach just one time. That's one kid. Then it happens like 3, 4, 5 more kids. Then you get a baseline example. And that's one thing I noticed is like the offers and you know, opportunities, you know, they're not necessarily what they seem to be, you know. And I know for sure, I mean, even a kid like Alear, you know, or any kid that might be a 4 or 5 star, they got offers that they can't like just commit to right now. They can't just hold up that scholarship. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
it doesn't really work that way.
And that goes for every kid too.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's kids that you might get an offer in April and it's July now.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't heard from that coaching staff. You can't call and commit if you want to.
Nope.
So you really don't have that offer. So
Right.
it's like, even on our Wildcat page, we used to post every offer. Every kid got, we would post it. Now, we'll throw it up on the story.
Yeah.
But again, it's there today. It's gone tomorrow. Right. That's just the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nothing against, like, we obviously were trying to push our kids, market our kids, but
Right.
that's the reality of it. Right.
For
like
sure.
you might not have that offer a week from now, 2 weeks from now.
Absolutely. And honestly, I saw a couple times where even on day one, like, you know, a coach would look at you a little sideways if you're like, yeah, I'll take it. I'm like, what? You're like, you'll take it? Well, hold on. Let me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's wild. It's a wild thing.
It's tricky. And especially once you get into kind of junior, senior year now. And that's why it's like, if you know where you want to go and you feel comfortable about it, you have that gut feeling, take it, right? Because you don't know, man. You really don't know if you're going to have that opportunity. And I'm seeing kids that have opportunities, and it might be a D2, right? It's great, but now they're going to go to junior college or they're going to go to prep school, and they're kind of, I don't want to say wasting the year. It might be beneficial, it might not. It depends on what kid. But,
yeah, you're right. Yep.
More often than not, man, it's tough. It's tough sledding right now, and you got to be able to get in where you fit in. And if you have that opportunity to get your foot in the door in college, you have the opportunity. Now it's what do you do with that opportunity?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. You know, I mean, the other piece is that's so controversial, and but it's so important to me is that I believe. What's your take on, like, I believe if you are a Division I talent kid, so like we were saying before, just because you can play doesn't mean that you are. I believe even if you can play, your number one best chance is playing AAU shoe circuit basketball at 17U. Like, that is the holy grail. You know,
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
I agree to an extent. Now, I will say this, like, if you're a low major kid, right? Let's say you're on that borderline. I'm probably, and you don't have a defined role on a circuit team. Like, let's say you're not in the top 6 or 7.
Yep.
I'm telling you to go to the Hoop Group Showcase League.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Because I know that the NEC is going to be there. The MEAC's going to be there.
Yep.
The MAAC is going to be there. The Patriot League's going to be there. The Ivy League's going to be there. So, like, that platform where you can be 1, 2, or 3, play in front of those coaches for, 4 or 5 games in a weekend, that's going to be more beneficial than being on a circuit team and being, let's say, 7th, 8th, 9th man, where your role is not as defined.
Yeah, and you're right. I said that wrong. You're right. I said that wrong. It's not 17U. 17U by then, but 16U, you probably should dabble and see, okay, can I stick or can I not stick, then maybe go back down. So I definitely said that wrong. Yeah, you don't, hey, for anybody going to listen to this, you do not just go take a role on a team and play fucking 5 minutes 17U because REL or somebody else said it. Don't do that. That's not what I mean.
I do think it's beneficial to kind of get a taste of the circuit. If you have the opportunity at 15U or 16U,
Yep.
I just know from the past of like even kids that we've had, WPIAL kids, right? 15U, 16U, they come back to the WPIAL and they have huge years, right? Like they go off because they just were playing against the best kids from around the country.
Yep.
You're seeing different styles. Like you play teams from the South, you play teams from the Midwest, you play teams from California, you're playing New Jersey, New York. They're all different styles. So it just prepares you and gives you the confidence by the time you come back to your high school team. Yep. You're that much better. You're that much more confident, and you're just going to have a big year. But I would say it's not for everyone. The circuit's not for everyone, and it shouldn't be for everyone, right?
No, it shouldn't.
There's nothing wrong with playing on an independent team, right? There's very, very good independent programs. There's a couple very good ones in our area, and they do a good job, and they have a track record of getting their kids off to college, right? So if you're in that realm, I definitely wouldn't look down on some of those opportunities.
Yeah, nothing should be looked down on. You know what I mean? That's a social media thing, a social media era thing, but nothing is looked down on. Like however you get it done is how you get it done, period.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I would add this, it's like this stuff's marketing, right? So it's like Pepsi and Coke, right? And Nike's going to say, oh, we got this, and this. Adidas got this, and this. Well, if you put us all into the same room, you put the directors, the coaches in the room, we will laugh and we'll say, none of this really matters.
Right.
It really doesn't, right? It's a platform. It's great.
Yeah.
Like you're on a circuit, you're going to get seen. You do what you need to do. You're going to get to where you want to go for the most part, right? I just think sometimes like from the outside looking in and social media, it just pours gasoline on the fire. And it's like, oh, well, if I don't have, this offer, that offer, I'm not on that team, or I don't have that gear, or, whatever it may be. Kids are, kids are kids.
Kids are kids, right?
So they see that stuff. They're going to want to naturally be on a shoe circuit team. So I get that. Like, that's just part of being a kid. If I was in the same position, I would probably want to,
absolutely.
I want the gear. I want to play in the big, tournaments. I want to play in front of all the college coaches. So that's just part of the game. But I would say, like, when it really boils down to it, you got to find a situation where they have a track record of success. They have connections. You're going to play on a platform in front of coaches, and you're going to get playing time.
Yeah.
And if you do those things, then you're setting yourself up for success.
And I also say all the time that if you're not, like, if you know for sure you don't have a sniff of playing scholarship ball, and you're a kid who's, you're just hoping to be one of the top kids on your high school team, be in the top 3 on your high school team. Kids like that, like those are the type of people who hit me up. Hey, can you get him an opportunity on a shoe circuit team? It's like, I mean, even if I could, for what? Like it's not really gonna do anything for where he's headed. And so for me, I feel like in our area, in the WPIAL, it's been like this since me and you were in high school. Like those Division III schools and those PSAC schools and all that, they're going to see more than enough of your high school basketball throughout your 4 years. They're going to see you a lot. And so you really don't even need to go play AAU at all, let alone try to finagle your way on some high-level team, because where you're going to end up at the end of the day is irrelevant when it comes to an Adidas shoe circuit, man. Like, and that's not to shit. Like, I played D3 ball, but people always think like I'm shitting on, bro. I did this myself. I'm giving you the reality of the situation, And so if you just want to try to be a great Division III player or a great Division II player and come out of there with some opportunities for yourself, like, why don't you just try to be great in that lane, and instead of chasing something that looks cool for you to basically, like you said, not get in games or diminish your confidence or whatever, And so that's a piece people don't talk about a lot. It's not relevant for a lot of people.
Right. Yeah. It is kind of just a moot point for a lot of kids. It's like, it doesn't really affect the bottom line. And even beyond that, I would say, like, if you're a Division II, a Division III prospect, like, you don't need to go. Why would you go to Louisville, Kentucky, or why would you go to Texas, or why would you go anywhere for these events when you're literally just outside of the recruiting landscape that the schools are going to be recruiting you.
Yep.
So it's like,
Yep.
go to Spooky Nook.
Yep.
Go to Spooky Nook 7 times. I
Yeah.
don't care how many times you go.
Mhm.
They're going to be there. The college
They're gonna be
coaches
there.
that are legitimately going to recruit you, they will be there,
Right.
right? You don't need to, do extra and go all over the country
Right.
to try to get seen. You're wasting time, you're wasting money, you're wasting effort,
Mhm.
and it's honestly time that you could have spent in the gym.
Right, for sure, man. It's unbelievable. People just don't think about it logically like that, and that's the same thing. Going back to the importance of, of a shoe circuit for those kids that are in that category. It just is. It's just one of those things where it's a numbers game, man. People are showing up. I'm gonna give this point. I want you to go off of it. It's just a numbers game to where if there is an Adidas tournament, April 15th, and I know there is how many top 100 kids are on Adidas?
Let's say
Rough number.
Let's just say in 2025 there's 30.
That's a super significant number. 30%.
Yeah.
Let's say there's 30 top 100 kids, and for whatever reason, the tournaments that I can get to that aren't out of our financial reach or whatever, there's one Adidas tournament, and then there's 700 other independents around there, or maybe they're a little bit even further out, an hour away from that Adidas destination. Where am I going to go as a Division I coach, especially a high major? Forget about it. It's not even a question, right? It's just a numbers game, man. You're going to get more eyeballs for a longer period of time at that one location. So it's just a number. You get a good chance. Doesn't mean it's the only chance.
100%.
You know?
You're right on, and it kind of leads into my next point. And this is kind of like the game within the game. It's like, all right, there might be all these staffs. They sit down on a Monday and they have their recruiting meeting, right?
Yeah.
So they have, let's say, 4 coaches that can go on the road. 3 of those guys are going to be at the shoe circuits, right? Head coach might be at the EYBL. Associate head coach is at Adidas. Second assistant coach is at Under Armour, right?
Yep.
Let's just say hypothetically. And then
Yep.
that last one is going to move around to some independent events.
Yep.
Well, what's good and what's bad is that the decision makers are going to the circuit
All
right?
the time,
The guys
man.
that can offer the scholarship, the head
Yep.
coach, the associate head coach,
Mm-hmm.
they watch a kid 1 time, 2 times, they can make that call.
Right.
Whereas now you're the 4th assistant or 3rd assistant on
Man.
the road. You're at Big Shots, let's say, in
Yep.
South Carolina. You see a kid you like. Yeah, like you can like the kid, but chances are
people
your
don't-
head coach hasn't seen him. Your associate head coach hasn't seen him. So
Yep.
now it's like there's a disconnect because now you got to get your head coach out to see him.
It's crazy, man.
And
Like,
it's just like the time, their time is so precious, right? They only have so much of it. They can't be everywhere.
Right.
So yeah, you're right. They're going to go where the talent whittles down and the best of the best are going to be going against each other. And even like at the independent events, let's say they go to Spooky Nook and Hoop Group.
Yep.
Well, they're not going to the back gym to scout a kid.
Right.
They're going to plant themselves on the wood floors
Mm-hmm.
all day long.
Yep.
And then they know the players eventually they'll be on those floors.
They'll be on the floors, right,
Saturday
yeah.
night, Sunday morning.
Yeah.
The best of the best kids at that event usually are going to filter through and be able to get onto the wood courts. They don't have to move.
Right.
They stand there, they sit there, and they
You got to be
watch
efficient,
and
man.
they
This shit is money.
evaluate.
You got to be efficient. This is
exactly.
expense dollars. This is expense out of the account. That out of that fucking budget that program has. And you just said something that is so true. Again, I had to learn this year. It's like people don't realize how much an assistant coach has his own agenda and is basically has to sell the fucking head coach. Like, bro, there are guys who literally, everybody listen to me, if you got an assistant coach talking to you, that coach might love you, man, but he literally might have to like try to muscle up the energy and courage to even bring you up to a head coach, man. Like, this is hard. This is hard to do. And so there are all those intricate things that people don't think about. Like, this is why the percentages are what they are of how many kids get this done. Like, this is tough.
It's tough, and it's like these assistant coaches are trying to move up the ladder as well.
Yep.
So they get in the Monday recruiting meeting. This guy likes a couple guys. This guy likes a couple other guys. who's really got the juice with
Yep.
the head coach.
It's a
and
pecking order, man.
How is the needle going to get moved?
Right, right. Well, one last thing I want to hit on is talk about the raw basketball. Like, so whether you're recruiting kids for your AAU team, whether you got them and you're trying to actually to get them to perform, like when you're trying to get kids to get in the situation and perform, talk about how hard it is to get them to be able to perform and the things that you yourself like always pinpoint. And I'm like, yo, this is the checklist that has to happen if this kid's going to be where he needs to be. What are those common things for you?
Yeah, so like for us, I would say like the baseline for all kids, and this is what we stress, like first weekend of practice, we'll get everyone together. There's really 4 things that like you have to do that are non-negotiable. You got to run, sprint the floor, both ends, right? You got to rebound, you got to defend, you got to be a good teammate.
Yep.
A good teammate could be make the next pass, be unselfish, take a charge, whatever, right? Those are kind of like 4 things that obviously, we could get into talent and high-level kids and kids that fill roles, et cetera. But those 4 things are probably the most important because that's really what the college coaches are looking for. Yes, they want the dude that can put the ball in the hole. There's no doubt, right? There's guys that get on the circuit and they take bad shots. And they might go 3 for 20, but guess what? They still have the big offers because they might have the confidence to take those shots.
That's a skill in itself. It's a skill in itself.
It's a skill in itself. So that's part of the game. But I would say just each kid is different, right? So getting certain kids prepared is a little bit different, right? So it could be, depends on what the kid needs, right? Like, does the kid need, like, I'll talk about 2 kids that you've worked with, Mikey and Amma, right? So, like, Mikey, for him this past year, totally new, right? This circuit stuff was new to him. Yep. He came out in April. He's a little bit up and down. My thing with Mikey was just play.
Right.
Like, stop thinking about anything. Just go out there and play, right? Be free. Like, don't make this anything more than it needs to be. You're putting too much pressure on yourself, right? Go out there and play the game. I know how you can play. Just be effective, be productive, do those simple things. You're going to stay on the court.
Right.
And like a kid like Amma's freaking talented, right? Like we know this.
Right.
Like he's going to be a really good player.
Yeah.
Getting him to understand that your path is not someone else's path, right? You have your own path, right? You're when the time's right and you keep putting the work in, you're going to get your flowers, right? You're going to get the offers. I really believe that, right? But you can't worry about what anyone else is doing, or just focus on you. What can you get better at? What can I do on the floor to be effective for my team?
Yep.
And I would say just understanding that, and we're talking about 16, 17-year-old kids, so it's never easy. It's always a process, right?
Oh, yeah.
The longer that you kind of reiterate that stuff, and then I definitely saw some progress into July, and all these kids, they usually play their best in July, right? Just like I've been doing this 10 years. As a team, we've never been great in April, right? But we've always been pretty good in July. We just continue.
Takes time, man. It's comfort. Yeah, I appreciate you doing this, man. Like I said, I know a lot of people get value out of this, and this is that popular topic, man. So I mean, anything, everybody, like everything you were saying in here, like everybody's path is different, the situation is different. We need to know all the context before you can even really start throwing out advice and giving people paths. But these are conversations that I think as time goes along and people get more info on, everyone will be able to make more informed decisions, and more importantly, the things like a 3SSB circuit and all these other things will be less watered down. They'll have a longer lifespan because of everybody's intelligence on it. You know what I mean? So that's why it's important. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. I appreciate you having me on. And I would just say for like any kids watching this, or stay in the gym, man. Keep the main thing, right? Like we get so caught up on this, that, and the third, and offers and circuits.
Yeah.
Focus on yourself and get better. Lock in, find someone that's really invested in you the same way you're investing in yourself. Lock in the gym and get better.
Right. It's hooping at the end of the day. That's what it is.
That's it,
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what it is. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Rel.
All right, brother.